Hi, I'm Dave Werhane, Director of the National Scouting Museum, and welcome to Artifact of the Week. Today is going to be part 2 of our 3-part series on the Merit Badge. And it seems throughout 110 years that something that's very important to all Scouts is an actual patch. What is it about the patch that is so important to Scouts? Well, I thought about it a little bit, and I believe it's because a patch helps a Scout remember an activity or an accomplishment that they've achieved during Scouting. And nothing says this better than the Merit Badge patch. So let's talk about the patch itself. In the last 110 years, the patch has actually gone through 11 significant changes. These changes include everything from the shape of the patch itself, to the fabric that it was embroidered on, the embroidery, the backing, and even how they were wrapped. So, let's hit a few of the highlights of those changes over the years. Of course, we've got to start with 1911. What was the first Merit Badge patch? What did it look like? Well, it was a 2-inch square piece of cloth with a circle embroidered on it, the symbol in the center that was the ideal symbol, or so they thought at the time, that represented the actual Merit Badge. Then, over the years, that square started to become sewn on in different ways. And that led to the cutting of this square cloth to be a circle. That took place around 1934. And in 1934, they also started to crimp that. So when the Scout actually received his award, or his badge, right, the backing was crimped into form a circle. 1936, they wound up making that a little bit tighter, so it was easier and closer to sew on with just that embroidered band. Now, that was doing well, but then comes 1942. And in 1942, there's a change to the Merit Badge that most people don't even recognize. And that is the actual cloth it was embroidered on. In 1942, the Boy Scouts of America started embroidering those patches onto a fine twill cloth. What was the reason for that? Was it easier to sew on? Was it lighter to ship through the mail? Nope. It had to do with what was going on throughout the world, and that was World War II. For you see, the material that those Merit Badges had been embroidered on was needed for Army uniforms, military uniforms. So the Boy Scouts, to help with the war effort, switched to a different fabric. All was well and good, and people seemed to enjoy the new Merit Badge. After World War II, several changes came about to the Boy Scouts of America uniform. And to align with that, in 1947, the background cloth of the Merit Badge patch was changed to the color khaki. Over the years, it had been various shades of tan, but the khaki aligned better with the uniform at hand. That worked well. It was still this crimped, round, cut patch. But then, in 1961, there was a revolution with the shape of the patch, for they introduced the rolled edge. Now, Scouts would receive a round patch with a fully embroidered edge around it. Much easier to sew on for some. By 1967, the Boy Scouts of America decided that they would try to make all the Merit Badges consistent. You see, for those first 50+ years, some Merit Badges had a fully embroidered circle, the background and the logo. Other Merit Badges just had the circle and the logo. So in 1967, they started changing and fully embroidering the background on all Merit Badges. This was such a great idea, and people loved it so much that in 1969, they made another radical change. And that radical change was the edging, that rolled edging. What was so special about this change in 1969? Well, it was the introduction of the silver rolled edging on all Merit Badges, which were to be mandatorily required to earn your Eagle rank. 1993 was the last significant change to the Merit Badge, but it didn't last very long. They soon gave it up, and by 1995 it switched back. What was the change? Well, it was trying to use computer design to create all the merit badges. And at the time, the problem was it created 2 different size merit badges. Can you imagine those poor scouts for those 2 years and their moms trying to evenly lay out merit badges on a sash when they came in 2 completely different designs? Yeah, you can see why they gave that up and went back. Those badges are actually quite rare. Now, that brings us to a very important thing about the merit badge, and that is how scouts proudly showed them off. For after all, once you earn that merit badge, you want to make sure everybody else around you knows that you did. Let's look at the way merit badges have been worn over the years. And let's face it, it may seem like there's only one way to wear them, but in reality, there's been several. And that way has changed over time based on the patch, the uniform, and let's face it, mom. Because after all, while most scouts will say that, yeah, they sewed their merit badges on, in reality, we can probably all agree that mom did most of it. So, in the beginning, merit badges were worn on your sleeve. As the early scout uniforms had long sleeves, the uniforming guidelines dictated that your merit badges were to be worn on your right sleeve. Now, as you can imagine, this offered up a few challenges during those first couple of decades. Why, sewing patches onto your sleeves is not always an easy task. Secondly, if you're wearing your uniform all over the place, those patches that you worked so hard to earn were fully exposed to the elements, definitely in danger of being ruined, tarnished, or just kinda not as nice as you'd like them to. There were several things that came about to help with this as moms and scouts got creative, where scouts or mothers would sew the patches onto a removable panel that could either button or be tacked onto the sleeve. There was another technique that moms and scouts used where they would sew the patches onto an outer slip sleeve, and that sleeve would then be slipped over the arm of the uniform and either buttoned about mid-arm or tacked in place. Now, remember when I talked about the invention merit badge last week and how only 10 scouts had earned it? One of those scouts was Graham Smallwood, and he earned it for a pretty cool invention that had to do with merit badges and wearing them on your sleeve. And that invention was the sleeve cover, as shown here. What a great way to protect those merit badges as you're camping, working on other merit badges, or providing community service. Now, all these things were a little tricky, so in 1924, the Boy Scouts of America came up with a different idea for scouts to wear their merit badges, and that idea was the sash. Now, the sash is not a unique way to wear your honorary medals or badges, so it was quite easy to adapt. As a matter of fact, Ernest Thompson Seton actually used what they called a honor band, shown here, to do the very same thing with his Woodcraft Indians. This honor band was actually worn by Ernest Thompson Seton. From the beginning of the use of the sash by the Boy Scouts of America, it came in 2 sizes. One accommodated 2 columns of merit badges, and the other accommodated 3 columns. Here are 2 pre-production samples of Boy Scout sashes, all of which have been approved by James E. West. Today, we basically only use the 3-column sash, since you can earn over 137, whereas when it was first introduced, there was only 57 out there. Over the years, the color of the sash changed to align with the uniform. Now, there are some sashes out there that just don't look like they came from the BSA office. You know, over those years, there was plenty of moms out there who decided rather than go ahead and buy an official sash, they had some green cloth that would do just fine. Another thing we'd like you to note is when it comes to mom and sewing on merit badges, there was no standard way. Moms used everything from the straight stitch and the whip stitch to an intricate blanket stitch and even a full running wrap embroidery style. So, hope you have enjoyed these examples. I hope you join us next week when we talk about a few odds and ends and merit badge pamphlets, in and of themselves a whole genre of collectibles. Now, I enjoyed your comments from last week about your merit badge and which one you felt was the most fun to earn. And in the comments below this week, please share with us which merit badge you feel you are most proud of earning. Thank you again, and look forward to see you next week.